Hey guys, what's going on? Josh, aka 1PC here from Smashboards. This video interview is brought to you by Smashboards, the #1 website for the Smash community, Smash discussions, and Smash tournaments. So, my guest today is arguably one of the best, not arguably, is the best Little Mac in the world in terms of Smash 4. Noble Esports' own Solarith, correct?
That's the longhand of it, yeah. So, good evening, everyone. I'm Noble Soul. It's a pleasure to be here today, and I believe as we've negotiated, I will be released from capture upon the conceding of this interview.
Yeah, because, you
Fantastic.
can't go anywhere until I am done.
Good.
Anyways, so, you're here touring Texas. How are you liking Texas so far?
Love Texas. It's one of my favorite Smash scenes, not to push it too hard, but I would have to say that it's probably one of the nicest communities that's always reached out to me. I have kind of a long history here. I've been to Texas at least 3 or 4 times now. I've been to Texas for a month out of this year alone.
Mm-hmm.
So I spend a lot of time around Houston, and then I travel out to like Dallas, Austin, so on and so forth.
Cool, man. So what's your favorite part about traveling to these cities? Like, I know it's the community, but like, is there like the food or anything like that like entices you to like come back? It's like
people.
Mostly the people.
Well, I'm a strictly community-oriented person. It was the community that initially kind of pulled me out from a lot of depression, like Smash 4 as a whole back in Florida, and then I got exposed to a lot of varying factions inside of Texas, be it like SU, TTN, so on and so forth. And
TTN.
I like to consider myself a little gray. I can walk the borders between both of them, and if you're out there, Krebs, I love you. If you're out there, Tesh, I love you, and you're both seedy as hell.
All right. Let's move on to Smash. So, in terms of the whole 2 versus 3 stock meta, where Texas is recognized for doing 3 stock mostly, except Dallas, the exception of Dallas.
Mm-hmm.
What's your thought on it? Like playing with a 3 stock 8-minute meta?
Well, one, I think it's actually rather refreshing to have another state or to have another representation inside of the United States itself showcase a different meta, because there is no one objectively correct meta. I think 3 stock is notoriously more consistent, even if a couple minutes longer at most. I do think it favors more defensive play, which is why you see such a strong advocation of characters like Villager or just timeouts that are represented, especially through Houston, and that's okay, though. The thing is, this is acceptable, at least to me as a person, as an individual. I appreciate the 3 stock meta. I think more than the 2 stock meta, it provides more information, it gives you more time to adjust and adapt, and overall, I find that Smash 4 is largely faster than Brawl, at least from my new gen eyes. Go easy on me, folks. I think that it's a little bit faster than Brawl, and I think 3 stock is entirely justified. So I'm actually more of an advocate of 3 stock than 2 stock, which is an additional icing on the cake when I come to visit.
Right. So you're preparing for one of Dallas Fort Worth's premier monthlies, Aftershock.
Okay.
Now, do you have any game plan or anything like that? Or
I'm gonna go in and I'm gonna punch people.
Let's go.
Yeah.
Side B all the way, no?
And then I might play them in some Smash Brothers.
It's cool, man. So what are your thoughts on the Houston Smash community as a whole?
Well, like I did say, there are fairly divvied factions and what have you, but I actually really, truly like pretty much everyone from every side. Between, like, Tesh and PJ, or Lucy, as he might be known in certain circles.
Mm-hmm.
The TTN headquarters has been great to me. I've loved these guys for ages. It's basically a house of jackals and a gambling den and just all kinds of illicit CD. I just love it. Really at home. Anyhow, but on that note too, like Krebs, BC, Smash United, Remo, I think these are amazing figures inside the community too. I think everyone's really trying to do their best to I guess look out for the future of Smash in Texas, and occasionally they step on each other's toes, but we really do have a great representation of community here. Between the players, like I think the Wall and I are rather ideologically opposed, but then ultimately, for whatever reason, we can sit down and really have a great time playing. Mm-hmm. He's one of my better supporters and actually friends inside the scene, despite us being so different as people. Trella is awesome, really fun to poke fun at. Definitely not sleeping right behind the camera right now. Definitely not there shaking his head, hiding a little bit underneath the blankets, covering up his Punisher shirt. It's very cute.
Oh, Trella.
No, I love the scene in this community. Like I said, it's one of the most prominent reasons that I visit. So, hands down, great community. To a certain extent, I even don't tell Florida I said this, even though this is an interview, so this is on the record. Probably my favorite Smash community to hang out with at times. Overall.
Nice.
Yeah.
Appreciate the words of kindness towards the Houston Smash community.
With clear-cut exception for Rio, whom is my friend and possible domestic life partner. What?
And lastly, I mean, is there any specific player that you like? Like, all right, I'm going to Texas. I can't wait to play set player. Karna?
Karna and I think I view Karna as one of my largest rivals inside of the Smash scene. We've had a plethora of sets and matches. It's always close. Karna used to think the matchup was 70-30. Now he thinks it's 50-50. I've always thought that Mac Sheik is 55-45 Mac. And I've pushed that for ages on him. And damn it, Karna, you're going to see it my way one day. But we've had 8 money matches currently, as well as a whole plethora of friendlies. And we always make it a point to play each other. So I know when I head over to Dallas, I'm going to expect at least 2 more money matches from my boy.
To get the even 10.
Something along those lines. I mean, it's a never-ending tale.
Are y'all evenly, like...
I'm 5-3 right now on him, but our sets are usually to the wire, very competitive. He understands the matchup rather well, which is something I can't say for the majority of competitive Sheiks, actually. It's really refreshing, and that's why I don't lean it harder towards Mac, is that I've still seen Sheik apply intelligent options that counter up on Mac and abuse his weaknesses effectively. There are all kinds of... I'm sure that... I actually believe that there's a question coming up on that in the future, so I'll leave it be for now. But.
Of course. But yeah, appreciate the words. Well, guys, we're gonna take a quick break, but when we come back, we're gonna go through the Reddit thread AMA that we have for Soul. So, stay tuned.
Or don't. It's your life.
Exactly. Hey guys, we're back, and we're gonna just jump straight into the Reddit AMA.
I'm so sorry.
So, first question. First question comes from the real Mr. Willis.
Thank God it wasn't the fake one. I hate that guy.
It's very popular. It says, you've said in the past that Mac is positive against Sheik, and you even made a very good video about it. Have your opinions changed since then? What are your thoughts on the matchup right now?
Well, that video, what I think people fail to recognize is that video was pre-patch. So I'm actually distinctly adamant that Mac is positive in that matchup at this juncture. So Mac versus Sheik is incredibly... One moment. So I do apologize. Where was I? The Sheik-Mac matchup. So what a lot of people don't understand, and I made a video of analysis on Mac versus Sheik using as demonstration the top Sheik of our state at the time was Master Raven. Very competent, very great player. We did a $10 money match, best of 7. I won a clean 4-0. Now, there were certain elements that he was failing to understand about the Mac matchup, which is why I'm not saying that it's stronger of a matchup than it was. But my assessment of Mac being 50-50 with Sheik was pre-patch, and I had a record to support it. I think in my opening 6 months, I had a couple of losses to a gentleman by the name of Fusix. And I want to say back at... was that SmackDown, ZFL SmackDown? My first Sheik win of any significance was versus a gentleman by the tag of Wizrobe. Ever since that moment, I never dropped another bracket set to a Sheik for the next 1.5, 2 years. Up to now. I have yet to drop a set versus Sheik. I've had a lot of great experience with various Sheiks. I've had good matchup knowledge, and I've gotten anywhere from like friendlies with Mr. R and Void, in which recently I've even at least edged out a slight even with them, but friendlies. So grain of salt.
Of course, yeah, right.
It is just friendlies. It doesn't actually say anything significant. But at the very least, I wasn't getting like trounced, and that was indicative to me. But larger than that was, I think, my bracket win over K9's Bruce. That combined with the fact that I just haven't dropped a single set to a Sheik in bracket in, again, just leaning on a 1.5 years or 2, I just fail to see how it couldn't be positive for Mac. I've fought some of the absolute best Sheik competition out there. I think it's about 55-45 Mac. I think it's still largely a test of skill. I would argue that Sheik does have certain plays she can make, but I think most people are adamant that the reason that she wins is because she freely gimps Mac, but the reality is she simply doesn't. As long as you don't spam jump in the fair combo, as long as you go low with your recovery, what is she going to do? Down air you? Be reverse needles? I mean, these are risky options that, like, she'd be reverse needles and misinputs it all, grenades out, and then she's dead. And if she down airs and you air dodge, she's dead. So she has to make large commitments and big exchanges to gimp you as long as you go low. So you really don't lose anything by recovering low versus Sheik. If she catches you with a back air, it's a free tech side B on stage. And then her kill conditions are largely a falling air near lip into bouncing fish, or a raw read bouncing fish up smash. And you should not be getting hit by those reads if you use your ear. Okay, so one of the big things, there was an article, actually, if I might go on a slight tangent that is still correlated.
Go ahead.
So Beefy Smash Dudes released an article, or a video as it were, regarding unreactables, which is fine. It accounts for basic input lag for the game, basic human reaction time, combines them together, and says this is what you can feasibly react to as a person. It's a brilliant video, and it demonstrates that there are some things that genuinely force you to guess. One of the things they highlight as one of the notions that forces you to guess, one of the concepts that they examine, is bouncing fish, I believe. And I would thoroughly disagree, and here's why. So whereas by a physical reaction, from a visual perspective, it'll take you about 16, 17 frames or so, you can shave off about 3 frames of reaction time going strictly off of your auditory senses, especially when within a close proximity to the monitor. So when it comes down to it, that makes those 3 frames, or that's actually a huge difference in human reaction time. It makes significant difference in what you're trying to do. So the key thing to beating the Sheik matchup, or at least not getting gimped out by really bad bouncing fishes, is simply not to press the air dodge button and not to guess, but to rely on your auditory functions. I would never recommend playing a Sheik without earphones. I would say that if you have to play them on an audioless setup, the visual demonstration you're looking for that tells you that they are bouncing fishing and not just jumping forward with a fair is the spark that shows up on the back end of them. But either way, once you use your ears in the matchup, it eliminates their primary kill condition and makes for great hedgeway to survive to ridiculous percents. So it is not uncommon at all for me to survive to 140 versus even great Sheiks. And I kill them at 70 with a down tilt. And when I have to work that little, because I'll put them at 60 or 70 in one combo because she's a fast faller.
Right.
And the next time I down tilt them, they're dead. I just don't have to work as hard in that matchup as the Sheik does, to be truthful with you. And she might have better tools to break neutral, but again, there's just no prominent threat there, and all of her kill conditions are hard reads. That's why I think it's actually 55-45 Mac, and I have, in my opinion, the record to demonstrate it.
Nice. So, next question.
Yeah, sorry.
No, it's fine. Great answer. Thank you. Comes from Relax Redditors. Any thoughts of picking up a secondary for Mac with his tough matchups?
Yeah, I mean, there's really nothing wrong with that necessarily. The only thing that gets in the way of that is me, largely. So I enjoy a couple of other characters, and I've definitely considered secondaries in the past. It's nothing to any solo Mac mains out there. Don't be ashamed to pick up a secondary to cover rough matchups. It's hardly a test of skill to see if you can out-camp somebody on Duck Hunt. That's just a numbers problem. If somebody brings you to Smashville and they have any kind of projectile whatsoever, especially if it can fall, you're really no longer playing a game so much as enacting an inevitable death. I think that there's nothing wrong with secondaries. I do think that there are characters that I like I've dabbled. I've pulled out Mewtwo twice in bracket. I pulled out a Wendy once ages ago just for laughs. I like these characters, but the problem is I just don't have the intrinsic motivation to work at them like I do Mac. And I think for that reason I will probably constantly just be a solo Mac main, but I'm not opposed to growing into a secondary. I just have to have that kind of fire or passion ignited in the same way that Mac did for me. Because when I picked up Mac, I worked about 40 hours a week for 6 to 8 months, and that's only after that did I start slowing down to 30. I've worked pretty much nonstop with this character to find out little niches of utility that he has, even if it's like a falling air or a turnaround jab 1, to overcome certain weaknesses. I play Mewtwo for 3 turns, 3 rounds, 3 matches. I don't even make it more than a set, and I want to switch off because Not because the character is necessarily unfun, not even because I'm necessarily doing poorly. I'm just don't have that same passion. I don't have that enthusiasm there.
Right.
And it's not something that I'm really willing to force myself to have. I think that if I have it, I have it. And if I don't, I don't. And quite frankly, that's fine by me. You know.
Nice. Thank you for the answer. Ordsack36 says, what's your favorite Little Mac combo / moment that you've pulled off in tournament?
It's not so much actually the combos. The character himself really doesn't lend very well to combos. It's the little gotcha moments. It was like money matching fatality, and then in round 4 doing a down tilt to nair, footstool down air into up smash to take his stock, and he looked at me like, what did you just do? I said, I air macked.
Air Mac.
I enjoy catching people with down air gimps. I think one of the cooler but more subtle things that I've done was people know about the Bedeau technique and the crossfade through platform, which is where you perfect pivot in place and then duck is part of it.
Mm-hmm.
But I think one of my favorite moments was subtle that no one will ever actually logically appreciate. I was on platform in Lilat versus Rosa Luma, and she was pressing / pressuring me. I was on the platform, and I was not in Bedeau. I did not have Bedeau technique, so what I did was I slid my hand off of the right hand controller, perfect pivoted, slapped down, and then popped the hand back into a KO. And he perfect pivoted, fell through the platform, and then essentially was already facing the Rosa on the way down, and then teleport punched forward and took the stock at like 17. But to the user at home, to the average person, all it looks like is, I fell through the platform and I KO punched. But there were 4 or 5 inputs inside of the span of frames.
that had to go into that kind of move.
It was so intensive. I had to take my right hand off my controller to do it, and then move it to the left side. So yeah, it's one of those things that's some of the best stuff with Mac in tournament is really underappreciated, or it's not about an intricately lengthy combo. It's about a nice technical application.
Right. The little things, the little gotcha moments, as you say.
Yeah.
Nice. Thank you for the answer, man.
Mm-hmm.
Lutoria asks, what kind of things do you do to improve your play? Were those blocks habitually, mentally wise? How did you fix those?
Well, you're going to have blocks in both, because naturally no one's perfect. Mental blocks are about mental fortitude. Mental blocks are about saying, no, I'm having a bad week. No, I'm having a bad month. Yes, I can overcome this. It's about finding the strength to keep playing even when it feels like you're on the decline, because that happens. You'll have waves of success followed by waves of failure, I suppose. You'll have moments of great triumph, and then you'll have, moments of unfortunate failure. Happens all the time. When it comes to physical roadblocks and to mental roadblocks, for me, as an individual, I just continue to play. My gameplay and my work is the dedication of thousands and thousands of hours of muscle memory just being reiterated onto the controller again and again and again. My comfort, my understanding, and my belief in myself comes from hours of hard work and practice. I go to lab, I work with friends, I do what I can. But ultimately, hard work alone is nothing if not coupled with a positive mentality. There have been moments where I felt like I'm in decline. I stand back, I analyze what's going on, and I find the way forward without making excuses for what's happening now. That's the best I can do in these scenarios.
Thank you. Diego's Kitchen asks, any moves in Little Mac's kit that you initially wrote off but later found useful for?
Up air. Up air is so good, and I never knew, and it took me forever to truly understand the value of max up air. So it's, okay, get this. So on paper, it's a really slow move that does about 5% damage and lands with a ton of lag. It's a great supplement replacement for up B in a lot of down tilt, up tilt situations. Mm-hmm. The thing is, if you do a full hop and you throw it out there, most people will immediately try to fall back to ground, and they'll land with such lag that they get punished. But you actually have the ability to delay it out for an extra set of frames. So, like, you'll wait until he'll swat like some. I don't even know how to explain how embarrassing that swat looks. But then he'll start pulling the fist back, and the second the fist pulls to the halfway mark, you can fast fall back to the ground, and you'll lag cancel and immediately be able to act out of it. So pops them up, but like at no major distance. It steals jumps, and more pointedly, it also causes them to misestimate your openings in neutral. So they'll fall down on top of you, get a free up tilt on top of it, and now it was worth far more than an up B, and you had none of the accumulated risk with missing an up B. So it's a great combo extender that eventually starts forcing opponents to air dodge, which Mac loves. He loves it when he can find a way to force somebody to air dodge.
Of course, the fear.
Probably his best aerial. Yeah, I said it.
Damn. Let's go for a random one.
Sure.
Peanut Butter 1236 asks, how bad was that pepper?
That's a good question. If I knew which one he was referring to, I eat about a ghost pepper a week, and I I home grow them. So
okay.
I eat one ghost pepper a week, and I eat one habanero a day. Well, at least when I'm back in Florida. They stopped burning me 6-7 months ago.
Really?
Yeah, they don't. It doesn't have any applicable heat to it anymore. There's actually a video on my YouTube called "A Song of Fire and Fire," and Rio's doing a freestyle rap, pretty great by the way. And while he's doing that, I ate a ghost pepper, and then I ate a habanero, and like no relief, no bread, no milk or anything like that. It just didn't affect me. That's kind of where I am at this point. I think what he might be referring to though is the more infamous, or at least the deadliest quotation marks encounter I've had with spice would probably be my shot of a $55 of pure capsaicin, $55 vial of pure capsaicin. It's
Jesus.
So whereas you have habaneros, which are range at about 520,000 Scoville units, ghost peppers range at about 1 to 1.2, and Carolina Reapers, which are now currently up till 2007, the ghost pepper was the hottest pepper in the world. In 2007, it was overtaken by the Carolina Reaper at a scalding 2.2 million Scoville units. Now, for reference, a jalapeno is about 5,000. So, weapons grade pepper spray is about 5 million. Pure capsaicin is 16 million.
Jesus Christ.
So I took a shot glass of it.
And what were the effects of that?
It actually hurt so much that I got high. There's really no polite way to phrase that for the kiddies at home. I literally entered a state of euphoria after my insides determined they could not hold this stuff, and that's good because that would have caused a lot of intestinal bleeding.
Right.
Cute. And then so I ended up getting a second shot of pure capsaicin, and then after that ran through. I would have to say, yeah. I ended up in a raw state of euphoria, and I just couldn't control how happy it had actually made me feel. It was like a rush of endorphins. You know how adrenaline junkies work. So that video is also on YouTube. It's Soul versus Pure Capsaicin. I think it's around the 12-minute mark after I finish casually entering my stomach's innards into a bucket. I get really elated. There's something referred to as what do they call it? There's a form of chasing high that involves capsaicin, and I guess that's unintentionally what I did.
So, kids, if you do not want to
Do not take pure capsaicin at home. Under any condition, you can and genuinely may be hospitalized. It's not a joke. I trained for years to be able to do that. Do not take pure capsaicin. I'm not joking.
Appreciate it. So, Awesome Swampert wants to know, how did you and Rio first start forming your iconic team?
I guess it kind of boils back to any story like that starts with where we met. I was hungry, fairly scrappy, and had a great record on For Glory, so figured I was really good at the game. So I attended a local corner store tournament where my round 2 happened to be the best Ike in the world. And I did manage to actually take a game off of him. He was impressed, and he said to me afterwards, "Hey, we have a weekly here." It was Smash Conference back before that name got somewhat taken and then translated over to Orlando. It initiated in Gainesville, and so he brought me out to Smash Conference and said to me, and he said, "Sorry about that." So he brought me out to Smash Conference, and he said to me, just do your best. And I pulled, I think, bottom half. It wasn't even great. Maybe the lower end of top half. And so after I attended that conference, he said, well, listen, me and my friends were headed out to go practice some. I said, yeah, sure. I immediately got hooked into that scene, and I think from that day forward, I found myself doing 40 hours a week. That was when I started, and through his tutelage and my hard work and dedication, my experience grew and prospered, and he started pushing and advocating. After what he had seen from various other Macs, he said, I actually genuinely think you're the best Mac out there right now. And come CEO 2015, I had actually attended on a fractured spine. That's a story for another day. But he agreed to do doubles with me. Now, we had no prior practice. We didn't do anything. Our team was an overnight hit at that event. CEO 2015 was a big defining event. And when Rio and I got in there, we showcased the future of doubles, which was, at the time, footstools. Nobody was applying their footstools effectively in doubles. And we came out of the gate. He'd footstool into my KO punches. We would have great team setups and combos. The synergy was just there. And we finished, I believe, only in a paltry 9th, but we finished regardless. We lost to a standing ovation. And it was from that point forward that we pretty much cemented the team. There was a brief lapse, a hiatus in which we were practicing / working together. This was sometime after I left MVG for various obvious complications.
Right.
But after he left them as well, we were able to cement the team back together, and here we are.
Nice. Really nice backstory. Rogue Ninja wants to know, when Little Mac was announced, did you think he would be your main?
Yes, immediately.
How so?
I immediately knew he would be. So when it comes down to Mac, and this is what I'm talking about when I say that I have a certain kind of fire ignited by the concept of the character. I love boxing. I trained as a boxer for shy of a year. I have always idolized underdogs. I really appreciate a lot of what Little Mac is in concept. I loved his game series when I was growing up. I mean, I started on Mike Tyson's Punch-Out. Yes, when it was Mike Tyson's
When Mike Tyson was
right.
there.
Which, to be fair, I mean, there were earlier examples too, like the arcade game and what have you, but I grew up with the series. I liked it a lot. I was by no means a Little Mac fanatic, which would be the blatant revelation there, I suppose. But I definitely love high-speed, close-quarters combat. I love suffocating an opponent. I want them to feel like they can't breathe when I play them.
Very pressure-based.
Yes. And the character stylistically looked like he would afford that. Conceptually appealed to every little hidden ideology that I had. It just made sense. I saw the trailer, and I said, I'm a Mac main, and I don't care what tier he is.
Nice. My man, Muffintastic Man, wants to know, what character matchup do you hate the most? Also, your favorite flavor of protein muffin.
Protein muffin. God, I'll get to the matchup first. So I would have to say that Cloud is by and far one of the more obnoxious matchups for Mac, but I would say that at least to a degree it can be engaging. I would have to answer Pac-Man because it's a very one-dimensional matchup that centers around a single move, which is up B. It's a frame one option that Mac can't attack over tilt over. You space it towards the net. You space it next to the lip. You put the trampoline between you and Mac, and then you just pull up an item and throw. And he really can't do anything about that, and he just gets camped out like it's Duck Hunt no matter what stage he's on.
Right.
It's unfortunate. It exists. It's not a particularly fun matchup. I will say that I respect any opponent that does it because ultimately that's the game we play, and win by all means. That's the nature of competitive spirit. So I'm never going to fault somebody for playing under that playstyle. In fact, that's what they need to be doing, especially in that matchup. But yeah, so I do find it to be rather unfun. I could include Sonic for similar reasons. Once he gets the lead, it's just nigh impossible to catch that bastard. Yeah. But my favorite flavor of protein muffin is none because I don't hate myself that much.
You heard it here, folks.
Yeah, I would not endure a protein muffin. I'll take the capsaicin, please.
Well said. Next question. Stick Wars List wants to know, where do you see yourself competitive-wise a year from now?
Ultimately, that depends. I think that where Max stands, I still have the potential to break a top 8 in majors, as well as continue to grow as a player. I definitely lack certain crucial fundamentals. I'm a new gen. This is my first competitive game, and I think some people overlook that, or they think that it's a bad sign. I've only played Smash Brothers in a casual capacity, non-tournaments, sometimes mostly items on even in my past generations. Smash 4 was the first one I took to a competitive seriousness, and to have done so much inside of 1 or 2 years, it's really hard to say where I'll be in the third, or really even to imply that the third would be a definitive limit or roof. I mean, Rio worked for about 7 years himself to get to where he is, and he has so much more room to grow too.
Of course.
We all do. So when I think of where I'll be in a year, barring no changes, buffs, stage selection options, I'll still be probably on the lower end of having broken 1 or 2 top 8s, if I'm lucky. But I'm going to always push for first, and whether or not that's feasible, I don't really care. The key about this character is to prove people wrong, and I have certain reservations about what the character can accomplish. I think that there are certain flaws in especially solo maining Little Mac, and I think that's just reasonable. That's just a realistic observation of empirical data at this juncture. Regardless of that, the point of the character, the nature of the character, is to defy the odds and to rise up above expectations, including my own. So if I have it my way, I'll place first at a major. But ultimately, I don't know where I'll end up, especially with the incoming inclusion of the Nintendo Switch. Should be pretty interesting. I think that there are great rumors abound, but one of the biggest things that you can most likely expect from a console that is the successor of the 3DS and the console, the Wii U, is a merging of stage lists, if nothing else. So expect Yoshi's Island. There's going to be some switch up on what's going to be viable, what's not going to be viable. Currently, one of the biggest hindrances in Mac's tiers is that he's always stuck choosing between Duck Hunt and Smashville, both of which are free wins. He can't afford to lose his first match, or else he loses the set.
Right.
So, or I guess I would say, or else he's likely to lose the set if he ever doesn't have the lead. In any case, I don't know. There's still a lot of variables out there. All I can do is aim for the highest possibility.
Right, as we all should in our competitive play. Let's go with Radicool16's question.
Okay.
Do you think Mac's intrinsic character design is justified? You know, example, his stellar flame data, solid speed, his quick kill setups, and kill power in exchange for a weak-ranged aerial. Or do you think that concept is imbalanced? And if so, how does it translate to his viability at high level?
So his intrinsic character design is... One moment. Forgive me. Anyhow, his intrinsic character design is ultimately fine. It's what they gave him that fails to live up to it. So the concept is very much manageable, but they have failed in their execution of the positives of his concept. So let me break it down briefly. Mac has, I would argue undeniably, the worst aerial and recovery game, and that's fine, because that's the way it should be. That is part of the concept of the character.
Of course.
They execute that brilliantly. It's bad, but it's not actually so atrocious that it's literally unusable. In fact, the application of Mac aerials and means to recover, I've been finding ways to recover with this character now for 2 years. And I do, semi-consistently at least. Those aren't really his biggest problem. I think a lot of people like to scapegoat the 10% recovery nerf back from 1.0.4 as for why Mac is now somehow unviable, and that's simply a falsity. Here's the problem with Mac. So you've guaranteed that he has the worst air game. You've taken away a good setup and chunk of combos for him. You've removed recovery from his tools, at least largely. So what should he have? The absolute, undisputed best ground game neutral, right?
Of course.
So what does Little Mac do versus Shield?
Pressure.
That means nothing, because here's the problem. All of your pressure is unsafe on Shield. So when it comes down to it, you have down tilts, up tilts, and F tilts. You even have jab ones, which are also not safe, which is horrifying. But if you touch your opponent's Shield with any of your moves, they do get a follow-up grab response or tilt response. Across, I would say, at least 19 out of 20 matchups. There are a couple of rare exceptions. Luigi. Olimar to a certain degree. But the vast majority of characters literally only press R and they beat Little Mac. And that's a very big problem with the character fundamentally. His only safe on shield option is a half-charge down angle F smash, which if somebody's letting you land that in neutral, then you deserve whatever you get. As long as you maintain your shields and you're very effective about it, Mac can't really do a lot about that. And shield and grab game, first of all, grab game is something that boxers have, fundamentally. It's called clinching. They've been doing it for ages. Floyd Mayweather, one of the most prominent boxers of this generation, clinches a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Clinches and runs, but clinches. So, shots. So, you take a character and you say he's going to be the best ground game, period. And then you shut him down to every character in the game on an on-ground option like shield.
Right.
He's really fundamentally flawed. And so the only way you're going to get through that is with a grab, but your grab has one of the most embarrassing reaches. It actually only goes up to his wrists. So when he makes the motion, it cuts off the actual hitbox at his wrist.
Oh, at his wrist, so
Yeah.
his hands
So
are
when he goes like
intangible.
this and he flops, it only cuts up to his wrist.
Really?
Yeah, it doesn't grab at the glove. Most hitboxes will grab past like the actual physical limb by like an entire partial limb. His only cuts up to his wrist. It's a very atrocious grab range.
Oh.
He has it grabs on frame 10, I believe, and so it's one of the slowest non-tether grabs in the game. Has some of the most in lag, and when you finally land it, you get 0 follow-ups if they DI out. Period. There are no follow-ups, no combos that actually string from it. So your opponent really loses absolutely nothing from holding the shield button, and it's just an option that they can handily implement in neutral. You have a metagame with hundreds of safe on shield move options, right? I mean, cloud down air, cloud up air, cloud side B with limit break. Just to name a few off of one character, there's 3. Mac has really nothing of significance whatsoever that he can throw out there. So smart players tend to just beat him out by walking up and holding R. He fails at his concept not because his concept is unworkable. He fails at his concept because whereas they executed his weaknesses well, they failed to implement his strengths accordingly. If he's supposed to be extreme ground damage, why does he consistently kill half as well as Ryu?
Right. It's questionable.
And there are a lot of characters like that. Like Mario literally outclasses his knockback and power on his smashes. Mario has better smashes with armor. Well, with invulnerability, which is a better form of armor because there's no exchange on damage. You see a bunch of different characters take tools he has and either beat them or at the very least match them.
Mm-hmm.
It shouldn't be a question. He should absolutely have the best of the best in regards to those tools.
Right.
That would be the balancing factor. So do I think that Mac's concept is inherently imbalanced? I think it's inherently polarized. I don't think it's inherently imbalanced. I think its current execution is imbalanced. And I do believe that it has a lot of significant room for improvement. The character certainly needs buffs. Anywhere from there to like making his moves link correctly to having his rapid jab not just let people... I can get... Oh my God. I've been rested out of my rapid jab. It's the most frustrating thing. Rested, you can get Trishoryu'd, you can get all kinds of things. There are 3 open frames between every little punch. And I've had people... I actually have one of my favorites. Trella can attest to this. Ryu can stand up in the middle of your rapid jab at ledge. He can stand up in your rapid jab and then Trishoryu you. It's hilarious.
Trella, please.
But he's smiling, that monster. So there are a lot of fundamental flaws, and they drastically underestimated how strong Mac's actual ground game is. It's good, but its fundamental flaws don't even put him in the top 5 of neutrals for ground, much less the absolute best. So the concept's fine. It needs tweaking to actually match its ideas.
Of course.
And it could be done.
Of course. Hopefully we get another, balance patch.
Possibly so. Again, something I might anticipate with the Switch, but
Switch.
I've long ago given up on any buffs or changes for my character. If it happens, great. And if it doesn't, whatever. I'm still a Mac main, so screw
Same
it.
here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're a Mac main too now. Fantastic. Welcome, brother.
Dedicated Luigi main. He has a follow-up question as well.
Yes.
We'll make it the second to last. If there's one thing you would add / change to the character, what would it be? Could be any move, property, any character trait like jumping height, etc.
There are a lot of good options. For instance, you could implement a higher base jumping height to remove certain stage vulnerabilities like Smashville, Dreamland, so on and so forth. But I don't know that I would do that because it conflicts with the idea that that's where you're supposed to be weak, and I'm okay with that. Like, I'm at peace with the vulnerabilities of the character up until it defies the concept. So I would say maybe a grab follow-up with an up B. So, like, instead of making an 85% angle off of his down throw, giving him a 90% angle, letting him follow up with up B if he gets the grab. Because if he gets a grab and kills you at 100, and I think it'd be about 115. That's really not that crazy. I mean, you're sitting in a world where Rosa can kill you at 20 off the top, Ryu can kill you at 55 on the ground, or lower. I've seen lower than that too. Yeah. So I think Mac extending a terribly ranged, super laggy frame 10 grab, if it actually connects to your shield at 115. Maybe you deserve to lose the stock. I think that's something I would do. More importantly, though, before I fixed any of that or adjusted any of that, I would fix fundamental issues in the way that is like F-tilt links, that is rapid jab links, and that is up B links. All three of those, two of which are actually his dominant kill conditions, randomly pop people out of themselves and don't land their killing blow.
Nice.
Yeah.
You thought it out well.
Oh, absolutely.
Of
course I have. I live and breathe this character.
And lastly, since this is an AMA, guys, trying to get to know Soul, Throsa asks, are you straight?
Surprisingly, yes. I get that I'm pretty flamboyant, and I get that question. I think some people might be genuinely offended somehow by that, but I just don't see the clarification of the question in itself as offensive. Yeah, I am straight.
Nice. All right, guys. Appreciate you guys watching. Soul, do you have any shout-outs, and where can people find you in social media?
So I'd like to, of course, shout out my sponsor. A bit of my job, but I really do love working with them, so it's rather shameless when I say, Noble Esports. Look them up. Support what we do. I'd like to shout out Rio for teaching me everything I know. I'd like to shout out Florida Smash and Texas Smash for being a great community to me. I'd like to shout out... I'll shout out Mac Nation, even though we've tried to create a bit of a distance just so that they can kind of grow on their own. I still love them to death, and I truly do mean that. And as far as where you can find me and what I do, I'm pretty much strewn throughout almost all of social media. You can find me on Twitter. That's at Solreth, SOLRETH. You can find me on Twitch. That's FightSoulFight twitch.tv/FightSoulFight. I stream every Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday, 7 p.m. Eastern, and I usually go till midnight or later. This is what I do for a living, folks. So by all means, stop on by. I'm glad to have people just demonstrating their interest. If you want to play me, or you want to see what I'm about, or you have any other personal questions to ask me, I'm happy to take them on. Other than that, I have a YouTube channel as well. I recommend looking up The Sandman Cometh or Soulstorm, the two montages that I've made. That'll link you directly to my channel as well. And other than that, I've got Patreons and a million other bloody social media accounts, but those are probably great places to start, and I would be honored if you would, join them.
Nice. Well, thank you for doing this interview, man. It was a pleasure. It
was a pleasure meeting you. It was a pleasure interviewing. Yeah. Or being interviewed, as it were.
Thank you. Well, that was it, guys, for the Rated AMA for Soul. Catch you guys on the next one.
Peace.
Peace.